Hello. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our presentation this evening. We are very happy to have you here. Please tell us where you are from in the comments. We would love to know where people are tuning in from. Let us know if you are somewhere sunny or somewhere very cold and snowy like I am. I am Jody Graber. I am the East Coast Engagement Manager for Jewish Veg. For those of you who are not familiar with Jewish Veg, we are a nonprofit organization founded in 1975 with a mission to inspire and assist Jews to adopt a plant-based lifestyle as an expression of our Jewish values. And we do this a few different ways. We have immersive experiences. We connect with Jewish institutions, with synagogues, Jewish institutions, and we build community through our chapters around the country. And we lead public campaigns to promote our Jewish vegan values. We're, as I said, very happy to have you here. Events like this are made possible by our members and donors who support our work to build a kinder, healthier world. And if you are not yet a member or donor and would like to be, you are more than welcome to go to jewishveg.org and become a member. We appreciate that. This event is meant to be interactive. As you can see, we have information on the screen. I encourage you, please, to put your questions in the chat. We will be bringing them on for the doctors, and we want to know your questions and we want to know your comments. And it's good to see Neil here. Oh yes, Neil. Hello from Atlanta. Hi, Ted. So friends are watching. So nice to have all of you here. And Alexis from East Brunswick. I am from originally from Edison, New Jersey. So practically neighbors. All right, so I invite you all to take a deep breath right now. It is February 9th, 2021. We have been dealing with a global pandemic for almost a year, just about a year. I know it's probably impossible. It's nearly impossible to imagine, except for the fact that it is real. And this is also the time of year, the beginning of February, when whether you've made resolutions or set goals and intentions, made promises to yourself, this is the time of year when those start to drop off. We forget about them. Life gets in the way. Oh, Alexis, you're born and raised in Edison. Love that. Life gets in the way. And tonight, we want you to make a commitment to yourself. You know, we've all heard the instructions on an airplane. Put your oxygen mask on first, then help a child or someone next to you. And we know that we can't pour from an empty cup. We have to keep ourselves full of health and energy and vibrancy in order to be our best for our family and our friends. But how do we do that in the middle, especially in the middle of a pandemic? Well, we're going to have some answers for you. We are going to have some answers for you this evening. And I do want to acknowledge that in Judaism, the prevention of illness, the sanctity of our bodies is such an important concept. As Hillel said, if I am not for me, who will be for me, right? So we have to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. And of course, this is a Jewish concept that we're talking about, but of course it involves, it's important in other faiths as well. Again, it bears repeating. We have to take care of ourselves. It's incumbent upon us to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of the ones we love and we can stay healthy to do that. And speaking of our health, I love what Maimonides said. No disease that can be treated by diet should be treated by any other means. No disease that can be treated by diet should be treated by any other means. So what we eat, what we put into our mouths into our bodies is so important. And we, of course, know that there are so many studies that show us that plant-based diets are the most effective at preventing illness and treating illness to reverse disease. And we are so fortunate tonight to have two doctors with us, two physicians who have been working extremely hard, as you can imagine, and are giving us their time and attention this evening. So before I bring them on, I do want to mention that any of the advice we talk about, the suggestions that these doctors make, please understand it should not be taken as individual medical advice for you. Please take what you hear tonight and talk to your doctors, your medical team who know about your medical history, so that you can then make the best choices for you. So I do just want to make that note. I also want to say that this evening's presentation is part of Jewish Veg's Pandemic-Free World campaign, and we are very grateful that the Rochester Lifestyle Medicine Group is a partner in our Pandemic-Free World campaign. And what you see on the screen right now is all of our partners who are helping us to spread the word. This campaign was designed to empower people with the knowledge that we can prevent future pandemics by the choices of what we make to eat, by eating plants, putting plants on our plate, not animals. So please go to pandemicfree.org for more information about the campaign. So again, we are so honored to have two incredibly dedicated plant-based doctors with us this evening, and they are going to speak to us about sticking to our plant-based resolutions so that we can make our health and well-being our #1 priority. So please welcome Dr. Ted Barnett and Dr. Susan Friedman from the Rochester Lifestyle Medicine Institute. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful introduction. You must have been talking about Susan the whole time.
Well, thank you for this opportunity.
It is an absolute pleasure and honor to have you here. So I want to let people know a little bit, just a very little bit, about the Rochester Lifestyle Medicine Institute. And if you'll forgive me, I'm going to just read a little bit here. So I want to let you know, when you visit the Institute's website, rochesterlifestylemedicine.org, you're greeted with a statement and a question. And the statement is, you have the power to improve your health once and for all. You have the power to improve your health once and for all. And then the question is, did you know that eating the right foods can heal and reverse chronic diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, and obesity? And so we are going to hear a little bit more about that this evening. And so I want to just give a little background on these two wonderful doctors who are here this evening, and then I promise you we are going to hear from them. So Dr. Ted Barnett is the founding president and board chair of the Rochester Lifestyle Medicine Institute. He is the founder and CEO of the Rochester Lifestyle Medicine Group. He is a board member of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and chair of the college's Diabetes Reversal Task Force. And he's a partner in Borg and Eye Imaging in Rochester, New York. Dr. Barnett, known as the high-tech doctor with low-tech solutions, is an interventional radiologist who has been personally plant-based since 1991 inspired by the work of Dr. Dean Ornish. Hope I got that all right, Dr. Barnett.
Sounds about right.
And then we have Dr. Susan Friedman, who is a professor of medicine at the University of Rochester School of Medicine and Dentistry. She is the director of clinical studies and vice chair at the Rochester Lifestyle Medicine Institute and the medical director at the Rochester Lifestyle Medicine Group. Dr. Friedman is a geriatrician and expert in healthy aging. You had me there, healthy aging and behavioral change. She is the lead author on the white paper on healthy aging published by the American Geriatrics Society. I want to read that paper. So again, thank you both for being here, for giving us your time. I'm sure you're busy all the time, and I can't imagine just the added pressure, stress that you have been under. So welcome. And what we would like to know from you is, why did you start the Institute? What brought you to start the Institute, and how do you treat your patients there?
So I probably should answer that question since I'm the one who started it. And so we, back in 2015, started Rochester Lifestyle Medicine actually as a medical practice. And the idea was to teach the CHIP program, which stands for Complete Health Improvement Program, which has been around since the 1990s. And gosh, I miss seeing you guys on the screen. I'm all by myself now. That's better. All right, thank you. We started, that was in 2015. We started the Institute in 2017 as a nonprofit because well, for one thing, we don't make any money anyway, so we might as well be a nonprofit, right? We had originally hoped that we could prove that lifestyle medicine would be a reasonable career choice for doctors going into practice, and I still think it will be. It's just that right now, quite honestly, we're still working on that. So it's still that's why one of the reasons I still work as a radiologist. It pays the bills. And but my passion is about teaching people about lifestyle medicine and getting people over onto a plant-based diet, both for individual health, population health, and also for planetary health. So that's what we started in 2017. We started the Institute, and it really has taken off because we've developed our own programs since then. We don't just teach CHIP anymore, although we love CHIP programs. CHIP is this program that's these group visits, and we do them all online now. We do them through Zoom calls. And but I tell people CHIP is like getting a kid into the bathtub. You can't get them in, but you can't get them out. So CHIP is this big commitment. People are kind of cautious about starting. So we developed this 2-week jumpstart, the 15-day whole food plant-based jumpstart, which we started a couple of years ago. And we've had over 700 people go through that now. And it's been wildly successful. And the beauty of it is we tell people, look, you're a grown-up. You can do anything for 2 weeks. And so they do it, and they find out that, gee, their cholesterol drops 50, 60, 70 points in 2 weeks. I didn't know that could happen. I've been trying for years to get these things to change. And I won't go into all the details right now because we have lots of other things to talk about. But it's turned out to be this really wonderful way of getting people into the other programs like CHIP or like these other programs that we run like LIFT. And if they don't even need to really do the other programs. If they can figure it out on their own and they don't need the social support that we offer, then, hey, if you look at the bottom of every page on our website, it says teaching skills, not selling products. Our goal is to create independence. We're not selling you supplements or any devices or anything. We're just teaching skills. We just want you to understand how this works. And we're here for you if you need the support, which most people do, to be perfectly honest. But also, it's just lifestyle. You can, if you have a family that can support you, you can figure it out that way. So that's how we started the Rochester Lifestyle Medicine Institute. And then want to hear from Susan now.
Let me ask you a quick question. Sure. We have a question here from Marion. So at times, you mentioned cholesterol numbers going down, and she says at times her cholesterol numbers do not go down with a vegan diet. She says, how come and what can I do to lower my cholesterol?
So I don't know your details, but let's just assume that you are not on a statin and that you have a cholesterol, say over 200 and as high. Maybe it's a little lower, I don't know. But just for hypothetically, the way we've seen this work in amazing ways is in our Jumpstart. We teach the Esselstyn program. If people are familiar with Caldwell Esselstyn, he's kind of like Dean Ornish. He has, He's demonstrated that you can reverse heart disease with diet and lifestyle measures alone. And it's a very low-fat, whole food, plant-based diet, or VLF, WF, PBD. And so basically, we want you to eat a whole food, plant-based diet. And most people know what that means. At least I'm thinking most people in this audience knows what that means. If you don't know what it means, I'll review that for you. It just means you're eating only plants, no animal products. But those plants are whole plants, or as close to being whole as possible. So you're not drinking orange juice, you're eating oranges. You're not consuming apple juice, you're eating apples. You're not consuming processed wheat products, you're consuming whole wheat products, or even better, intact grains like wheat berries, that type of thing, oatmeal, etc. And you're also avoiding oil. Now, a lot of people that maybe I'm not sure if Marion has tried this, but we don't advocate oil at all, even if you're not on our very low-fat diet. The very low-fat diet means we don't want you having any nuts or avocado, olives, or coconut. I'll go back to that in a minute. But basically, we always advocate that you avoid all oil, even the so-called healthy oils like olive oil and canola oil. And we basically took our cue from Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. And if you Google the words "no oil," the first thing you'll see, the first hit will be a little video of Dr. Esselstyn saying "no oil." And it really has turned out that a lot of our patients say, gee, I tried everything until I gave up the oil. I could not get my cholesterol under control, and I couldn't get my weight under control. Now, for people who've been through the jumpstart and do get their cholesterol under control, we do say, you can try adding some nuts and avocado back in and see what happens, but check your cholesterol fairly frequently. If you're interested in getting your cholesterol down, you should be checking it every month or so. As you make changes. It's not something you need to wait 6 months for to find out. It changes really fast. The record we set is a woman who came in with a total cholesterol of 299, and it dropped to 149 in 2 weeks. So it dropped 150 points in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So we can certainly come back to that question later.
Absolutely. No, I'm sure there are more. So let's bring Dr. Friedman on. So can you tell us too, Dr. Friedman, what was your desire to be a part of the Institute and to do what you do, treat the patients? How do you come to this?
Yeah, well, thank you. I apologize. I had some technical difficulties a couple minutes ago, but so I would say about 5 or 6 years ago now, I was seeing things both in terms of my professional life as well as personally that started me to think about chronic illness. And as you mentioned, I'm a geriatrician, so I take care of older adults. And when I started my career in 1995, the patients that I was seeing were 70s, 80s, 90s, with significant and multiple chronic illnesses. And as time went on, I realized that I was seeing more and more patients who were in their 60s, in their 50s, sometimes even in their 40s and below, who had really significant chronic illness. And I started to think about, well, why is that? We are not, it's too quick in 20 years or so to, we haven't evolved in that period of time. There must be something that is changing in terms of how we're living our lives. And around that time, I was fortunate enough, my husband and I took Ted and Carol Barnett's wonderful course on plant-based nutrition. And it was really sort of an eye-opening experience. And it was really a 1-2 punch with Ted talking about the literature and all of the studies that really support eating a plant-based diet. And then Carol is a phenomenal cook. And so I think that is really a critical piece to making changes, is understanding that you don't, I love food. I mean, I'm a foodie, I enjoy eating. And so if the food isn't good, or you don't understand what the food can be, then I think it is very difficult to make those changes. And so I think the combination of things of their class really made a huge difference. So my husband and I went plant-based at that time. And then I was fortunate enough to take a sabbatical to learn more about healthy aging, and started working with Ted, and the rest is history. So as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I think it is really the way that we should be moving. And one of the things I love the quote from Maimonides, because it sounds like he was really the first lifestyle medicine physician. Because really and I'm sorry I missed some of what Ted said, but the thought is that about 70 to 80% of our chronic illness in this country could be eliminated if we were able to optimize lifestyle. And food is a critical piece of that. So I think a lot of physicians are coming to that realization as well. We belong to the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and we sat for the boards the first time that they were given. And what is amazing to me is that there are docs from just about every specialty that you could imagine, from pediatricians to geriatricians, from psychiatrists to surgeons, you name it, every subspecialty of medicine, because I think people are coming to the realization that what we are doing is just not working to make our patients' health better. And that saying that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I think people are tired of being insane.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, because I think people make resolutions year after year, right? I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to do more exercise. All of those resolutions and promises to themselves. So as physicians working in lifestyle medicine, how do you help your patients make these resolutions and stick to them? If people aren't sure, can I keep up with my resolutions? What do you say to them? How do you advise them?
I'm going to ask Susan to answer that, but before she does, I just want to say about that incredible sabbatical that she took. It was 6 months. It was one of the best times in my life and my wife Carol's, because it started in the summer, like July 1st. And we went, and she would come over to our house on a regular basis, and we would sit out in our gazebo in the yard, and we live out in the countryside. And it was just delightful. Carol would bring us food, and we would sit there talking about papers and books and articles for hours.
Yeah,
so,
it was awesome.
Yeah. It was really fun. It was very fun.
If anyone can take a sabbatical with Dr. Barnett, I highly recommend it.
So Susan, what about behavior change?
Yeah.
How do we force people to change?
So I think I'm going to start with a geeky answer, and then I will pass it to you to, talk about the sort of practical things. But there is a wonderful theory of behavior change and motivation that we use for all of our programs. It's called self-determination theory. And it is a theory that was developed by two psychologists, Rich Ryan and Edward Deci, who were professors of psychology at the University of Rochester. And this theory has been used for very, very broadly. There are literally thousands of papers published using this framework. And what things from teaching to raising kids to behavior change, to promoting health. And what it says is that really there are three things that we need in order to thrive as human beings. And that these are universal things. So it doesn't matter, what continent you were born on, how old you are, we all need these three things. And the three things are competence, relatedness, and autonomy. And so competence is the idea that you know what you're doing, you're able to, that you have the skills that you need to do something new, or to do what you're wanting to do. So again, I talk about Ted's wife, Carol, who is this phenomenal cook. I think until you are able to develop some cooking skills, it can be very challenging to move to a plant-based diet. So that's a critical piece. Relatedness, how you we all need to, we're social creatures as human beings, and I think that's been one of the big challenges of this pandemic is, here we are on Zoom and Facebook and interacting with each other in whole new ways, and we've learned to adapt, but the connectedness is really key. So I would say that what we find is that when people join our Jumpstart program with a spouse or a friend or a son or daughter, they are much more likely to keep going and to be successful in their changes because they have somebody to work with. And then the third thing is autonomy. And autonomy is the idea that you are following your North Star and moving in the direction that you think is the correct direction. And there's sort of this hierarchy. So there is internal motivation and external motivation. So at the bottom is external motivation. And so if an example of that would be something like if somebody gives you $20 to go to a gym for a day, that may get you in the door. It's helpful for a one-time thing, but it really doesn't keep you going. As you move up the hierarchy, getting more and more autonomous, the kind of the next rung is doing things because you feel guilty about things. So we're all good at guilt, right? But it's not a way to thrive and be healthy. Although it may keep you going for a while. The next rungs really have to do with internalizing values, and you talk about Jewish values and really incorporating what your behaviors are like based on who you feel that you are. So at some point, realizing that yes, by eating a whole food plant-based diet, this is supporting my Jewish values. It's making the world a better place. It's being kind to animals, as well as helping me be a healthy person. And then at the very top is what's called internal motivation, and that has to do with really enjoying whatever it is that you're doing. And so again, sort of bringing in that idea that you have to find recipes that you enjoy, you have to find foods that you really like. That is really going to help to motivate. So that's the geeky explanation. So.
I love it. I'm geeking out. So thank you for that. And Dr. Barnett, maybe you can also touch on now. So knowing what Dr. Friedman just said, how do you see COVID affecting people's resolve, to stick to their plant-based diets and keep it going when the world seems to be upside down?
Sure. Well, first of all, that was a great explanation, Susan, and I did not think it was overly geeky. I don't think I could really consider that. I mean, basically, what it boils down to is medicine is here. We're here to make people feel good. Honestly, we want people to feel good. We want them to feel better. In some ways, I've never confessed this in front of a national crowd before, but when I was in medical school, I decided that medicine was really just another form of entertainment. That we just make people feel good, just like going to a concert makes you feel good, or listening to a comedian, or going to a show. it's our job to make you feel good. If we fix your numbers and your cholesterol comes down, but you feel lousy, what good have we done, right? Mm-hmm. So we really, the food has to taste good. We have to be happy with our lives and our family and our friends. So we have to be helping people feel well, truly well. So the question was about the pandemic and what we've seen. I've obviously we all have limited views of what's going on in the world. We were originally giving our Jumpstart 24 people at a time every month. They were coming into our office, and it was wonderful. We saw all this personal support, and they were coming in 3 Saturdays in a row. And then all of a sudden, we couldn't do that. But now we're doing it all online, and we're getting 30, 40, 50 people in a Zoom room together with all the little rectangles, and we're all supporting each other in a different way. And I find that exciting in its own way. It's first of all, as I tell my staff, the cleanup in our office is much simpler. we just hang up. We don't have all this food lying around when we're done with our potlucks. But I'm not sure that anybody really knows the answer to your question. I mean, I think some people have become more motivated to take care of themselves. Some people are just, their lives have gotten so hard they can't take care of themselves. If they've lost their job and they just are barely making ends meet, then they're struggling in that sense. So we're doing our best to support people in that situation. But I think this is, whatever the answer to your question is, there's no question that this is a time when people should be dealing with their fundamental health. That because we know that people who do really badly when they get COVID-19 are the ones, or are the ones who are most likely to do badly, are the ones who have underlying conditions such as obesity, diabetes, heart disease, hypertension. The things that what we teach really, really help, because what we teach really helps with what's called the metabolic syndrome, which is those things, truncal obesity, the heart disease, diabetes. So there's no question that people who are interested in whole food plant-based diet, you're making the right choice if you're trying to reduce your risk from COVID-19.
And we see here is Ben. I hope I'm pronouncing or saying your name correctly, but Whole Foods plant-based, no oil, dropped cholesterol 50 points in 6 weeks. So
we see that typically.
Good, good for you.
Yeah,
that's great.
I think this might be a good time to bring in our wellness wheel, unless you did that already while I was.
No, would love for you to talk about this.
But one of the things that I've been struck by is just how much interaction there is between the different spokes, if you will, of our wellness wheel. That again, given COVID-19, I think I think many people realize that it is an important time to try to get as healthy as possible. But on the other hand, many people are experiencing a lot of stress, whether it's housing issues or teaching their kids at home, or taking care of a loved one who has a lot of chronic illness, or not being able to see loved ones. There's a lot of different stressors that really make this a very challenging time. And so that can really kind of stymie people, I think. But the more that you can tap into these different spokes, I think the better off you'll be in terms of health and wellness. So the American College of Lifestyle Medicine has what they call 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, which the mnemonic for that is feet, forks, fingers, sleep, stress, love. And we added 3 more, which are enjoying nature, being outside, purpose, having a sense of meaning and purpose, and also finding joy. And there may be many people on this call who are finding it challenging to do that. And one of the things that I've been doing with my family at home recently is every evening when we sit down to dinner, we go around the table and we talk about 3 things that each of us have experienced that day that have been positive or given us joy. And I think the more that you can try to focus on those things, it starts to train your brain in a different way, and can help with relieving, I think, some of the stresses that many of us are going through.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I think also so often people think you have to spend so much money to reduce your stress, or, the only way to feel better is to go to an exclusive spa for a week or something like that. And the truth is, you and your family are just taking a few minutes each day. But I can imagine that the collective, the feeling of that going on every day is really very special, and the effect, the health effects on all of your bodies is so positive for doing that, and it doesn't cost anything.
Right. I mean, that's one of the beauties of lifestyle medicine, I think, in general, is that a lot of this is free, Yeah. And right. And Dr. Barnett's, the high-tech doctor with low-tech solutions, it doesn't take a lot. You can walk outside and be in nature and be physically active and take a walk with a family member or friend, and you cover a lot of those spokes at the same time. So.
Mm-hmm.
And can you speak a little bit about, and I think Dr. Barnett, you may have been just starting to or alluding to this, about the comorbidities with COVID, because I think we keep hearing that word and we hear so much about it. And, I think sometimes when people are healthy, they don't imagine that one day their cholesterol is going to be up, their A1C is going to be up, and they're going to have the heart disease or the diabetes. So how can we encourage people that even if, and hopefully that they are healthy now, to continue along this path, to monitor their health and to go out in nature, or bring joy to their family's dinner table every day, so that these comorbidities don't happen, and whether it's pandemic or something else, that they know how to manage their bodies and their stress level?
Sure. Well, I mean, first of all, you can, even if there were not a pandemic, it's a good idea to eliminate your comorbidities, right? People feel better when they're not overweight, when they don't have diabetes, and they don't have heart disease. You just feel better, and your whole life is going better. I think people like to hear stories. We in medical school and in medicine in general, we're basically taught to be careful about anecdotes and to avoid, looking at, having too many conclusions about individual stories. But that's actually the only thing that really motivates people. So we need to see data. We need to, and we're evidence-based. We know that what we advocate actually does work when you look at the science. But if you really want to motivate people, you need to have them hear a story. And so one of my favorite stories is actually Eric Adams, who, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's the Brooklyn Borough president. Yep. He's an African-American gentleman who, I think he's running for mayor of New York City now. And if Brooklyn were a separate city, what would be like second or third or fourth in the country? It'd be pretty big. He turned his entire life around. In the last few years, he realized that he was going blind. He had terrible diabetes. He was going blind. He was overweight. He was miserable. And he's gone completely whole food, plant-based. He's just written a book, which it was just released, and I can't remember the name of it. But
Healthy at Last, I believe.
Healthy at Last. Very good. Thank you. Susan and I were in a video that his office produced. With little segments. We were one of the little segments, and you can see he is now incredibly buff. He's obviously working out. He's very muscular. He's not I actually can't imagine what he looked like when he was unhealthy. I haven't seen any pictures, but right now he's just a totally healthy specimen. His diabetes is not just under control. He doesn't really have it. He's got his vision back, and he's doing great. So stories like that, if you go to Forks Over Knives, which is a great website, you can see stories like that about people who've been able to find the motivation, wherever they found it. But their stories, and somebody people in the audience, find somebody that you resonate with, and go with that story, because there's lots of great reasons to do this, and there's lots of great people who've been through this before you have. So
yeah, I think unfortunately, not to bum everybody out, but I think oftentimes we don't know what's lurking, right? And so things present at some point, but they often have been evolving over time. And I can speak to that personally because, I was one of the things that got me interested in this whole realm of lifestyle is that I was diagnosed with colon cancer at age 40. And I was fine until I wasn't. I had no idea that there was anything going on. And then I had symptoms. And so I think there are positive reasons to try to be healthy. You have more energy, you have more joy, less stress, less medication bills, all of that good stuff. But there are also things to avoid. There are many people who present with heart disease where their first presentation is their last. And I'll just sort of leave it at that.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. And I think I think if COVID has taught us anything, it's that we just don't know. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And at the same time, I think that we can say, well, we're here and we're alive, so let's live, and let's live healthy and happy lives. Right. So, and we're fortunate that there are doctors like you and doctors, who are practicing lifestyle medicine who can really help us see that it is about the food we're eating and how we're living our lives. It's not about a pill. I know some people need at certain times. I mean, listen, I'm not a doctor, but I know that there's a time and a place for what, sort of Western medicine has to offer, but it's not in lieu of nutrition and the plant-based diet. We still have to, it's still best to adopt that plant-based diet and then work with your doctor to see those numbers go down, as you have shown and as we've seen on the screen. So I appreciate that. And I'd love to take some more questions. I know we had some questions earlier, so I'd love to bring some of those questions on so we can see.
Jody, there's a question here I would love to answer. Is that possible?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is a question from Bobby Mass. She says, I've been vegan for 10 plus years. My cholesterol levels, there it goes. Have been rising lately. I eat mostly whole foods, plant-based. Triglycerides are normal. HDL is too low. LDL is too high. I recently started taking a low-dose statin. I noticed that many vegan cheeses are made with coconut oils, which are fairly high in saturated fats. Could you please talk about saturated fats and what foods to avoid? I don't want to be completely on an oil-free diet. So there was a question earlier where somebody was talking about coconut oil, which is kind of, I wanted to talk about. So this kind of can maybe pull it all together. Yeah, there's the question on coconut.
Okay.
So I don't know if you remember at the very early on, I said there's no such thing as a healthy oil. So think about if I were to send you into the woods to forage for food and bring it back to the campsite and we're going to eat it. Would you find oil? You're not going to find oil out there. It's a fractionated food. You have to squeeze it out of something else. Once you squeeze it out of that package, whether it's a walnut, a peanut, whatever it is, now it's exposed to the air and the oxygen in the air. It oxidizes, it starts to create free radicals. It's no longer a healthy oil at that point. So there are healthy fats. And you should be getting them from whole foods. Coconut oil is, to me, a particular problem because there's an industry behind coconut oil trying to convince everybody that coconut oil is the next great health food. There's nothing higher in saturated fat than coconut oil, and that includes beef fat and lard. Coconut oil is really high in saturated fat, which we know causes arterial damage. It raises your cholesterol. And I'll get to that question in a second about the fat-soluble vitamins, I promise. But so coconut oil is, of all the oils, is really the worst. But again, we don't really recommend any oil. I mean, coconut oil is good to put on your skin.
Mhm.
on the outside, right? If you have dry skin,
Okay.
coconut oil on the outside is great. Don't put it on the inside. And the same thing with the other oils. I mean, you're going to hear, wow, olive oil is so great. Canola oil, olive oil. They're not as bad for you as other oils, but there's no need in your diet for oil. And someone said earlier, yes, there is some need in your diet for fat. Believe it or not, you get fat from all kinds of things. Even a white potato has got fat in it. White potato is 10% protein. People said, well, I didn't know a potato could have protein. Yeah, it's 10% calories from protein. You only need about 7% of your calories to come from protein. There's fat everywhere. In fact, the most common fat on the planet is alpha-linolenic acid, which is the basic omega-3 fatty acid. And why is it so common? Because it's in leaves. That's why we should be eating green leafies. We get our omega-3 fatty acids from greens, from green leafies. It's in all these plants. And why is it not in our food supply? Does anybody know the answer? Why? Omega-3 is so rare in our food supply. It's because they're unstable. They oxidize and they go rancid. So if you want your food to have a good shelf life, you take out the omega-3 fatty acids and you up the omega-6s because they're stable. If you personally want a good shelf life, you want to stay away from those omega-6s. You only want to eat food that can spoil. Food that can go bad is the kind of food you want to be eating. You want to eat it while it's still fresh, but you want to make sure it can go bad. The food that can't go bad, you got to be careful about. So the question that there was that question about, I've been vegan for 10 plus years. Why is my cholesterol rising? We've had a number of people come to us. My wife and I have been running the Rochester Area Vegan Society since 1995. We have lots of people who think that just becoming vegan is going to make you healthy. Well, it's probably better than the standard American diet, but there's plenty of diets that include animal products that are healthier than a junk food vegan diet. So you want to avoid a junk food vegan diet.
Mm-hmm.
Vegan cheeses are not health foods. Unfortunately, except for maybe some of the fermented ones that are made from that are actually whole foods, like cashew, the Miyoko makes some, but again, they're very high in they're very processed, they're high in fat. If you're really trying to get your cholesterol down, try a 2-week jumpstart and see what happens. You'll be amazed. I'm pretty sure you'll see that your cholesterol will come down quite rapidly. And if you go to our website, you can sign up. We do them every month. You can join the little rectangles on the screen. It's a lot of fun. So that was kind of a rant.
No, thank you. And then we have another question. Sorry, we have another question here about EPA and DHA and how much one should be consuming. He says, as a vegan, my only source is chlorella. What do you do to ensure that you're getting enough omega-3s, and what sources?
Sure. I'm pretty sure, Susan, you want me to take that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So somebody just answered, flax seeds are great for omega-3s. So ground flaxseed, you don't want to eat whole flaxseed because you'll just plant a lot of flax plants and right through you. You want to make sure they're ground up. And that person is absolutely correct. It's a great source for omega-3 fatty acids. The other person was asking the question about EPA and DHA. And those are the longer chain omega-3 fatty acids that your body makes when you get the omega-3 basic alpha-linolenic acid. So basically, all you really need is the essential fatty acid alpha-linolenic acid, which is the basic omega-3. Your body then can produce DHA and EPA. Now, there's some argument about whether some people are not good at adding those 2 and 4 carbon fragments to make it a longer omega-3 fatty acid. And in that case, there is some argument in favor of taking a capsule. I don't know that there's great scientific evidence, and this is anecdotal, but I personally take a DHA EPA capsule every morning. I forget how much is in it. It's one of the ones I get from Amazon. It's just a little capsule. They seem to be anti-inflammatory. I run a lot. My knees are fine. I have no idea. I haven't really done the experiment. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a fairly decent argument to take just one of those little capsules. They're plant-based. They're derived from algae, and they're lead and PCB free, or mercury and PCB free. Sorry, supposedly. So yeah, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but whatever those little capsules are, it's about right.
Well, I'll certainly be following up with you to get more information about that.
Okay.
But let's see, what other questions? Let me just see. I know there are so many questions here. Okay. I used to eat a lot of greens, spinach, kale, Swiss chard. I had kidney stone surgery this fall and was advised to cut way back on greens. Is this right? So what's your medical opinion on this?
Susan, you want to take that one?
Well, so it sort of depends on what kind of stone that you have. Most kidney stones are calcium and have some oxalate in them, and there are certain greens where you're more likely to absorb calcium, and other greens that you're less likely to absorb the calcium. Ted, you probably have a fuller answer than that. But
well, so as a radiologist, I see X-rays every day on people with kidney stones, and so I think about this a fair amount. And Susan's absolutely right. Some of the greens are high in oxalates. So what are the ones that are high in oxalates? The beet greens and chard and spinach, and they do interfere with some, absorbing calcium, and they tend to have, more oxalates, which may be part of what this person's stones are. A whole food plant-based diet does not tend to be stone forming. So I would be interested to know what else is in this person's diet. I mean, one thing you want to do is you want to make sure you're drinking plenty of fluids, because stones crystallize when your urine is concentrated. So you want to make sure that you are drinking lots of fluids, stay well hydrated. And beyond that, I don't really like any arguments you'll hear arguments about why I shouldn't be eating greens. Like, I'm on Coumadin, I can't have greens. Greens are about the healthiest food you can get. So it's really worth figuring out if there's some alternative to not giving up greens. I don't think that most people are getting kidney stones, honestly, because they're eating too much greens. But, there's other things in your diet that do contribute to that.
Thank you for that. No, and I think that too is part of the I think inspiration for people to to want to stay on that healthy path and not go down the path where these comorbidities come in when you then have to take a prescription, and where then the doctor is advising you, don't eat greens. I mean, for a doctor to say don't eat greens,
Sure. And I'd be interested in that person's consuming dairy, whatever,
right,
other things that can contribute to stones.
So let me ask you this too. So when people join your Jumpstart, are they then able to connect with you about some of these kinds of things? So do they bring to the Jumpstart sort of where they're at, what medications they're on, and
so it's not. When we used to do it in our office, it was actually, by definition, it was medically supervised. Everybody who did it was officially one of our patients, and we did their finger sticks. We gave them their lab results right there on the first Saturday and on the last Saturday. Since we've pivoted and gone international, actually, because now we've had people from 30, 40 states, 3 Canadian provinces, the UK. It's obviously harder for us to be supervising in a medical sense. We do have a medical professional on every call, though, or almost every call. So on at least the 3 Saturdays, and then there's a check-in on Wednesday. So the way it works is there's we have day -3, which is Wednesday before it starts. We added that because we want to make sure people aren't struggling too much with their Zoom connections. So we want to make sure it's working, because it can be frustrating. And that actually turns out to be a good introduction, but we ask people not to actually start to change their diet until that first Saturday. We want to make sure they've had their labs drawn. But so there's that first Saturday, which goes from 1 to 3. And then there's the second Saturday, the second day, which is Sunday, from 1 to 3. There's a cooking demonstration, and then the next Wednesday is another check-in. So there's actually 3 Wednesdays, because then there's, after that second Wednesday, then there's the second Saturday, which is our potluck. That's also from 1 to 3, and then we have the last Wednesday, where it's about an hour check-in. People talk about their issues, and then we have graduation on the third Saturday. That's also 1 to 3, and there's a medical professional at all of those. Some of them are actually our patients. We see them in our office, or we see them by telemedicine. We are licensed in a few states, not a lot of states, but I'm licensed in Michigan and New York, so I can see people there. We just brought on someone on who's licensed in 10 states. So we're expanding that a little bit, but it's, as you can imagine, it gets a little complicated. And when we had to switch, we didn't want to give up the form of the Jumpstart, because the Jumpstart itself has turned out to be this really fantastic vehicle. And to then have to complicate it with health insurance and all these medical rules, and sort of throw out the baby with the bathwater was something we really wanted to avoid. So we've maintained the structure of the Jumpstart. In some ways, it's actually better now. We're still working towards getting a little more medical supervision in there, but people can always make one-on-one appointments with us at any time. Certainly if they're in New York or Michigan, the states we're licensed in. Yeah.
Great. So let's take one more question. Let's see if we have one more question here we can bring on. Okay. So welcome, Alexis from Chicago. I am so used to fatty and sugar-filled food, so almost all vegetables taste so bad to me. How do I get started?
Susan, you're from Chicago.
Yes, and I can totally relate. I mean, I would hate to tell you what I ate all through residency and fellowship. I mean, it was not a good situation, but high sugar, high fat describes it pretty well. I think a lot of these foods are really quite addictive, and there are two kind of schools of thought, and I have to say that my thinking has kind of moved on this over time. I mean, the way that I did it was kind of gradually changing what I ate. What we recommend in the Jumpstart program is that you make a change overnight. And it takes a while to kind of get that stuff washed out of your system. But after a few days, you will be surprised at how your taste buds start to change and kind of wake up. It's like they're dulled and deadened by the garbage that we all tend to eat, the kind of the standard American diet. And once you really kind of get that behind you, you really start to appreciate new flavors and that kind of thing. One thing that I would just encourage you to do is to use whatever spices you like flavor your food. You don't have to have bland food. It's important to, again, as a foodie, it's important to be able to really enjoy your food. And so one of the things that I have found exciting about moving to a whole food plant-based diet is that it opens up all kinds of different cuisines that I might not have cooked before or thought about before. There are many different cultures that are plant-based, and so you can get recipes that are really delicious and really enjoy them. I think a lot of people that I see in the office, I talk about kind of the main components of a plant-based diet, and they sort of look at me and they're not sure, like, am I just supposed to be eating salad all day? And that's that's not what we're saying. I mean, we do want you to eat salad. We do want you to eat greens, but you can mix it up and really enjoy.
Great, thank you. So I know that I have to close this out in a minute, but I have one more question that I know I saw pop up there. So if each of you could share one of your favorite snacks or desserts, I think people like myself, like me, would appreciate knowing what would your go-to snack or dessert be.
I'll mention, before I go into that though, I just want to mention, if people are really interested in what we're talking about, we just released a course online that's got Dr. Friedman and I'm lecturing. If you go to our website, rochesterlifestylemedicine.org, it's now available. It's $199, but there's a $50 coupon, which I'll give you right now. It's called Happiness 50. And you can hear, it's about 10 hours of lectures. And for medical people, we combine it with our Jumpstart. It's the only thing like it out there. And where doctors who are uncomfortable with teaching this to their patients, they can actually experience a Jumpstart themselves, be on the little screen with all the other rectangles and see all the struggles that people are going through, all the successes they're having, and also get the didactic materials that we've put together. So take a look at that, see if people like that, and also get your doctors to take the other course. As far as my favorite recipes, so when I'm left alone, which isn't very often, because my wife does a lot of cooking, I love to just steam broccoli and have baked sweet potatoes with basically nothing on them. So except for maybe powdered garlic on the sweet potato, on the broccoli. As a snack, popcorn. It's good to have food that you can eat mindlessly. Like if you happen to be watching a movie, we all occasionally eat mindlessly. If you're going to eat mindlessly, it shouldn't be brownies, right? You're just going to put on pack on a lot of pounds. But pick things that you can just sit there crunching on, like carrots. Maybe too noisy, but popcorn without oil is really, microwave popcorn without the microwave bags. Find one of those recipes where you can actually make it on your own, and fantastic. Sprinkle garlic powder and what's the yeast? I'm forgetting.
Nutritional yeast.
Nutritional yeast. Thank you. Right, as flavoring and various things like that. So I'm I don't like a lot of sweet things anyway. So for dessert, I like to have fruit, grapes, pears, whatever. Susan, you're better at desserts than I am.
Well, I've always had a sweet tooth, but I think what I have found. So I have 3 teenage boys, 2 still in the house, and I find that what is out is what is eaten. And so if you can, like tonight, I just cut up some peppers, and so there are lots of pepper strips around, so people eat peppers. I'm constantly peeling oranges and handing out slices of orange, and that's kind of a way to get those things eaten for teenagers that may otherwise not partake. But I would say that one of my go-to desserts is frozen mango chunks. So you can go to the grocery store, get a big bag of frozen chunks, and it's sort of like a popsicle. And it's just mango, and it's delicious.
Okay. All right.
Somebody mentioned in here making Yonana's banana ice cream. Totally agree.
Okay.
Beautiful. And it's just a whole, right there it is.
Doctor approved. Love it.
Yeah, it's a whole food.
Yep. Wonderful. Well, I'm disappointed that we have to close this out now. We want to be respectful of your time, certainly, and everybody who's watching. So I just want to sincerely thank everyone for joining us tonight. Doctors, Dr. Ted and Dr. Susan, if I may call you that. Thank you so very, very much for joining us. For those of us at Jewish Veg, we are so honored that you are our partners in the Pandemic Free World campaign. It really means a lot to us, and we're just so grateful for your time tonight. I do also want to let everybody know, as part of the Pandemic Free World campaign, Jewish Veg has a program, Plant Pathways, which is great for those of you who may be veg curious, as well as longtime vegans and people who follow whole food plant-based diet. There you can go to plantpathways.org and join us. It's a free program. We include a series of emails. There's a private Facebook group. We have monthly calls on Zoom with a great community and a lot of support. So I invite you to check that out. And again, I encourage you to go to rochesterlifestylemedicine.org and check out what these incredible doctors are doing. And I want to just say again that events like this are made possible by people like you who are here with us tonight, who are giving of your time to enjoy these events and be with us, to ask your questions and give us your comments. And so I invite you to go to jewishveg.org if you're able to make a contribution. It's very important to us. It sustains us. And also, I want to ask all of you, doing these virtual programs is so important to us. And we want to continue to promote the power of plant-based diets, but we do need your input. So we're going to be sending an impact survey in email tomorrow with the recording of this event. And I really ask you it'll take 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes to respond to the survey, but your responses really make a difference for us and really help us to then go out and invite incredible speakers like Dr. Barnett and Dr. Friedman to join us. So please take 2 minutes to respond to the survey. And again, Dr. Barnett, Dr. Friedman, thank you so very, very much for being here tonight, and certainly for all you are doing for your patients and in the events that you're doing from the Institute to just help people understand from a medical perspective the importance of a plant-based diet. So thank you very, very much. And everyone, please stay safe and well, and good night.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.